Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And this week, Kate Middleton is showing her competitive side, this time with her very own son.
As we know, Kate is a huge tennis fan, and she's clearly feeling a bit jealous of Prince George's progress with his star coach, Roger Federer, because we learned from the Mail on Sunday today that Kate has been working on her game by having lessons at a very exclusive club, the Hurlingham Club in Fulham.
Ooh la la! And according to a regular at the club, she's really very good. Oh. Can you imagine a regular at the club saying, "Oh, she's terrible. She's so bad at tennis"?
That would be an incredible story.
Yeah.
But instead, they're fawning and they say she comes down and trains with her tennis coach with her security looming in the background. Sometimes they fetch her stray balls. Fetch! Humans don't fetch.
Oh, maybe she brings Lupo. I guess George has spotted this activity and he wants to up his game too because he's asked for a new racket for Christmas. Has he worn out his previous one?
Federer's been working him really hard. I love when we get these stories about what George and Charlotte want for Christmas or what they get for Christmas, because like it's always total fantasy, but I'm loving this fantasy. According to the magazine Closer, they've got a royal source saying that Prince George is obsessed with tennis and he wants a new tennis racket, but he also wants a football table. Foosball table, as you and I might call it. But even better than that is details about Princess Charlotte, who at 4 years old wants a pony for Christmas.
This is ridiculous. I mean, I know she's only 4 and I know all like kids want ridiculous things, but when you hear about like a princess who wants a pony, it's a bit of an eye roll.
Apparently though, Will is against this idea. He thinks she's just too young.
I feel like this is maybe the first decision he's made that I agree with. Despite them having clearly stated their demands for Christmas, they're being denied. They're actually apparently going to get children's cookery sets because they love making a mess in the kitchen.
Kate just doesn't want him to keep progressing with his new tennis racket.
She's trying to like say like, oh no, you really like ballet, oh no, you really like cooking.
Kate did manage to take a break from all of that high intensity tennis training to make a visit to Peterlee Manor Farm in Buckinghamshire this week to learn more about the work of the charity Family Action, which Kate is now patron of. She has taken on the patronage from the Queen, who was patron since 1953, which makes it one of the royal family's longest standing associations.
Yeah, so Family Action helps parents and children facing situations including financial hardship, domestic abuse and substance abuse. And they offer like perinatal mental health services, they do counselling, therapeutic support, as well as mentoring children, young people and adults.
It makes a lot of sense for Kate to be patron of this charity. I feel like it taps into a lot of her big interests, especially with children, and as well as that with addiction. We know she also is patron of Action on Addiction, so you know that makes a lot of sense for a new patronage for her.
What makes less sense though is her crazy elf outfit.
I mean, this outfit makes perfect sense, but it was outrageous to me. So she dressed up in the most blatantly on theme outfit you could possibly imagine. She heard she was going to this Christmas village, this elf workshop with children, and she said, "Give me the green jumper, the green socks and the red jacket.
I'll just pair them with some jeggings." That was my favourite detail.
So she was spending the afternoon with children from Family Action's preschools, and she was helping them choose Christmas trees. There was a really good clip of her trying to get them to pick a tree, and she was like, "What about this one? Anyone like this one? Oh, you want something a bit bigger? Okay. What about this one?" Like sounding like her patience was starting to wear thin.
Yeah. She's so good with kids.
The manager of the farm was saying she was a great salesperson and he'd have to give her a job. But again, he's not going to say she was a terrible salesperson and she'd be sacked after 2 days. As well as that, they made some Christmas decorations and eco-friendly reindeer food the kind of thing I feel like another member of the royal family would get a lot of heat for if they were making.
Oh yeah, they'd probably claim Meghan was trying to feed it to Harry. But it wasn't all Christmas trees and elf costumes for Kate this week. She had to fend for herself during the Trump visit. Will was on his solo tour of Kuwait, where he was dressed incredibly boringly. He just wore his normal, like, blue shirt and stuff.
Chinos. You feel like he would learn that when he goes on tours without Kate, the amount of coverage he gets plummets. So he needs to do something to try and improve it. And you know, he is obviously game for doing those kind of photo opportunities. Like, we saw the one of him with the hawk. That was quite a striking photo.
Oh, really good.
Was there one where he was playing basketball?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, you know, he's obviously up for doing that stuff, but it would be so much simpler if he just wore literally anything interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a patterned shirt, you know?
Yeah.
It could be red. You know, it could just be a colour he doesn't wear. It's so easy. And he obviously knows that when he wore that real standout outfit on the tour of Pakistan, that he got so much press for it. And it's literally as simple as just wearing something out of your ordinary wardrobe.
Yeah, looking like you made an effort.
And he couldn't do that. It really frustrates me because, you know, obviously the whole point of these tours is to get lots of coverage and global attention on the place they're visiting and the things that they're doing there, which they always do when you've got Kate. But without Kate, he needs to step his game up.
Absolutely.
So Donald Trump and Melania were here for 3 days. And when they arrived, they were due to go meet Charles and Camilla at Clarence House for tea. But yet again, they were late. Last year, they left the Queen waiting, and again, they were nearly an hour late by the time they got to Charles's house because there was very heavy traffic, apparently. The original schedule had them arriving at 5:10 and staying for 30 minutes, but they actually didn't make it there until 6:06, according to CNN, and then they could only stay for 15 minutes because then they had to go to Buckingham Palace for the NATO reception.
How can you not just account for traffic in the schedule?
You can tell that Charles is pissed about this.
Yeah.
They took a group photo in what probably took up half the time that they were there. And Charles looks so unhappy. I can't believe that they couldn't get a photo of him almost smiling even. Yeah. And as well as that, you can just feel the discord in it because of how much everyone is clashing.
Yeah.
The colours are so jarring together. So you've got Charles is in a navy suit and Trump is in a black suit, so straight away. And then you've got Camilla in a bright red dress with a black cape, and then Melania in this purple dress with a yellow cape, like a UKIP superhero, basically. And everyone just looks so ill at ease.
I mean, everyone hated being in this photo, and you can tell that they just buried it right at the end of a carousel, and then they posted loads and loads of photos and videos of them meeting everybody else.
Yeah, we got like pictures of Charles and Justin Trudeau, we got pictures of Camilla and Angela Merkel, but you had to go hunting for this picture of them with the Trumps because it was literally the last photo in a carousel on Clarence House's Instagram. That's not a coincidence. We did get a few interesting moments from this reception at the palace. One of the most unusual viral moments was a picture of Kate talking to Justin Trudeau.
Oh, yeah.
Which the Express ran with a headline that Kate was caught cozying up to Trudeau. Caught? That makes it sound like there was something very illicit going on here.
I know. But he's just got such a great head of hair.
She couldn't resist. Kensington Palace and the royal family shared this picture on Instagram, which I thought was curious. Now, we know that Kate has met Justin Trudeau before. They get along well. Of course they're going to be chatting to each other. But I mean, I could totally understand. Probably so many of the men that Kate meets in her work are so unattractive and boring. And Justin Trudeau, while being very problematic in his own life, is so much better looking than every other man that she probably meets. So she would understandably be dazzled by...
Oh, yeah.
Just wants to reach out and touch those locks.
And while the cat's away.
The other two big moments had to do with Princess Anne.
Everyone became obsessed with this video that appeared to show Anne shrugging off a meeting with the Trumps. Apparently that's not what happened, but it didn't stop everyone's imaginations absolutely running totally wild. I mean, it was like a group fanfic moment.
It was still a very funny moment just to see Anne shrugging in response to the Queen over like literally anything. And people got very annoyed with us for getting so excited about this, and they told us to grow up.
Which I found quite flattering.
But we got the quote-unquote real story from Valentine Lowe, the royal reporter at the Times, who heard from witness Laura Elston, a royal reporter for the Press Association, that after greeting Donald and Melania, the Queen turned to Anne to see who was next in this like receiving line that they do. But there wasn't anyone waiting. Trump was the last leader to be received by the Queen. Anne raised her hands in the air, laughed and said, "It's just me," adding a moment later, "and this lot," as she pointed to the members of the household behind her. Which, I mean, is that the nicest way to refer to your staff? I don't know. But just that image of the Queen looking at her and Anne shrugging was...
It was really good.
Excellent moment.
I mean, everyone's always going to be very grateful for any of these seemingly candid moments of the royals. It felt like you were looking behind the curtain.
The reaction to it was so over the top, though. People just taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
As if the suggestion that Anne would embarrass the Queen and that the Queen would upbraid her in public is horrifying.
It's so stupid because you know that if it was like Harry or Meghan doing something, everyone would be like, they've done this to the Queen on purpose.
I know. Even the fact that Harry didn't take a picture with Trump, the fact that he still went and met the Trumps but seemed to avoid being in pictures with them, people were furious about, whereas Anne gets this like...
How could you even think that?
This
you should be
incredibly
ashamed of yourself.
forceful defence.
Yeah, well, just grow up, Maeve. It's less easy to explain away, though, the video of Anne gossiping with Boris Johnson, Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, and Mark Rutte, who's Prime Minister of the Netherlands. The video showed the group of them grinning and seemingly commiserating about the president's behaviour, and we're guessing that they thought this was like a private moment, but, you know, everyone's seen it now.
But this video was huge, like it overshadowed the whole Trump visit. He was very upset about it, and you had Boris being asked about it, Trudeau being asked about it, Macron being asked about it. Everybody had to give a comment on it.
Yeah.
It was like the defining moment of the whole NATO summit.
And it's like such a school children thing to do. It's like, what were you saying? Can you just share it with the whole class?
And the fact that Princess Anne is right there in the centre of this group is just incredible.
Shrugging it off, probably.
It's so fascinating. This is coming at the same time as Andrew has been totally shunted.
Yeah, so he went for a light lunch with Charles and his dad, and it turns out that it was not going to be so light, really. This was before the Panorama documentary with Virginia Roberts aired, and it sounds like it was a bit of a dressing down. Stern words, but what I love is this. Okay, so a royal insider told The Telegraph it was a tense meeting, and Philip told his son he had to take his punishment. There was no screaming or shouting, but Philip told him in no uncertain terms that he had to step down for the sake of the monarchy. No screaming or shouting. These are grown adults. Congratulating them for not screaming or shouting in this conversation.
A 98-year-old man and his 59-year-old son, and you have to point out there was no screaming or shouting. There was definitely screaming and shouting.
Yeah. The insider went on that Philip doesn't like trial by the media, but he is realistic enough to realise that Andrew's actions were a danger to the very fabric of the royal family. And it was agreed that he would have another meeting with Charles.
So we had been talking last week about this upcoming showdown, this one-on-one, head-to-head blowout that was going to take place between Charles and Andrew, and it was really getting bigged up, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And so this turned out to be the follow-up lunch, this not so light lunch that took place in Sandringham on Monday. We had a royal source telling the Telegraph it was all very civilised, but Charles calmly read him the Riot Act and told him there was no way back for him in the near future. Andrew thought he was being treated harshly, as nothing has yet been proved against him, but he accepted the decision. He really had little choice. Andrew then left Sandringham and did not stay to watch the Virginia Roberts interview that evening with his brother and his dad.
We did a bonus episode this week in response to Virginia's interview, so if you're interested in more of our thoughts on it, you can find that wherever you get your podcasts. The reporting around this lunch really positions Charles as in control and taking charge, and we had a different source telling the Telegraph that the feeling is that with Prince Philip retired at 98 and the Queen now 93, Charles has to take a firm grip on the family and plan for the future. The first task was to support the Queen in helping to sort out the Andrew problem.
You know, everybody has been talking about how Philip is the one with the iron grip and that Philip will be the one to get Andrew in line. And even though they had this meeting, they had to say, we're going to talk again with Charles. As if Charles is the one who's laying down the law and he's the decisive, the tough talker. And it's interesting to defer to him in that situation.
Yeah.
But not for long, because Charles got shut down. So as Tom was saying about the conversation around the Queen being 93 and getting older and Charles getting more control, there was a story in The Sun that there is now renewed talk behind palace walls that the Queen will effectively retire when she turns 95, which is in just 18 months. And this piece described Charles as the one effectively pulling the strings to protect the crown. And they had a source who said of the Andrew scandal, Charles acted decisively, like the king he may well soon be. This was the moment when Charles stepped up as Prince Regent, the Shadow King. A regent, by the way, is a person who is appointed to rule, because the monarch is no longer able to.
And it's a much less creepy term than Shadow King.
Shadow King is so dramatic, and we first started hearing about this late last year when Robert Jobson's biography of Charles came out, and it was called Charles at 70, and in it he wrote that it was likely the Queen will trigger a period of regency in which she will grant her eldest son the full power to reign. So this has been kind of circulating for a little bit, but the Queen's not happy about it anymore. She said, not so fast, Charles.
Yeah, so she got Charles's office to release this statement saying that there have been no discussions about this at all. There are no plans for any change in arrangements at the age of 95 or any other age. And apparently the palace has added that there are some over-interpretations going on about Charles's role in the decision to downgrade Andrew's public role in the wake of his interview, reiterating that it was not Charles, it was the Queen's decision to have Andrew step back from his royal duties.
This is so curious. So, you know, it just makes you think of what is going on behind the scenes, because as you were saying, it was a spokesman from Charles's office who released this to People magazine.
Yeah.
And you wonder what's going on here. You know, is this Charles saying, okay, it's starting to look a bit desperate for me to be like called a Shadow King everywhere, and like I'm greedy for Mummy's throne, and maybe I need to cool it a little bit. So was it him saying, okay, we've got to still the waters here a little bit? Or is it the Queen coming in? I think this is more likely, honestly, and saying, here, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
And you've got to let everyone know. I'm going to let you say it to have the dignity of making that statement and making it look like it's coming from you, but really it's coming from Mummy.
In the same way that she let Andrew resign.
Yeah, similarly. You may have noticed that since Harry and Meghan have gone on their 6-week break, we have heard almost nothing about them. They have really kept private, which is exactly what they wanted to do, and which is great. But I'm so impressed that they've been able to keep everything on lockdown like this.
Yeah.
But you know that Meghan wants it out there that she is not into any of this Andrew shit. She is not supporting him. She is against all of it. And again, you know, we talked a little bit last week about how there was friends of hers talking to the Telegraph, and now we have a source in Grazia magazine talking about Meghan's reaction to the whole scandal, who said one of Meghan's key aims, even before she married into the family, was to defend the rights of women. She is horrified that someone so close to her family has flown in the face of that so horribly.
Yeah, I also like that phrase, close to her family, not in her family.
As well as that, we heard that Harry is in total agreement with Meghan. The source went on that as a young boy, Harry loved his uncle, and his tales of fighting in the Falklands and flying helicopters very much inspired Harry's military career. But now he feels conflicted and has privately condemned Andrew, as have Prince Charles and Prince William. But Harry has also expressed regret that his Christmas plans mean that he won't be with Beatrice and Eugenie at a difficult time this Christmas in Sandringham, as apparently they are quite close.
Yeah, if you've been wondering about the effect on Beatrice and Eugenie, it's very interesting, I think, that they've been treated quite differently. Like, we've seen over the past couple of weeks, Beatrice thrown under the bus.
Yeah, her role in the arrangements for this Newsnight interview with Andrew has really been emphasised. We saw a piece in the Daily Mail a couple of weeks ago that had quotes from an insider saying that Fergie had been abroad when all of the discussions for this interview were going through. So Beatrice sat in on all the discussions, which is a curious detail, I think. And they noted that she was asking lots of pertinent questions but had her doubts. But by the end of the meeting, she was convinced by the Newsnight team and Amanda Thirsk, who was Andrew's aide, that they had no choice, that it was the only way to put all the rumours behind them. And they also had a source who really laid it on, who was saying that even though Beatrice is their daughter, Sarah and Andrew rely on Beatrice's judgment a lot when it comes to dealing with the public, as she's got an old head on young shoulders. But obviously it was a total disaster, and now this is backfiring and making Beatrice look like she has terrible judgment, and that she was also one of the key figures responsible for it happening in the first place. With the benefit of hindsight, apparently Beatrice is now mortified that she did not do more to stop the interview going ahead, not least as it casts an even greater shadow over her forthcoming wedding.
Which is not helped by the fact that both her and Edo went to see Andrew just after he was resigned.
Yeah, that we had pictures of Beatrice visiting him, while Eugenie has managed to stay pretty much out of it. Like, we haven't heard anything about Eugenie's role or her feelings about the interview as it was being arranged. Now we have quotes from Us Weekly saying that both of them are really upset. They believe their dad made a huge mistake in judgment ever being associated with Jeffrey Epstein. The girls are leaning on each other and are being really supportive of their dad. They understand the forever consequences of it. I'm kind of skeptical about this.
I feel like this unified image of Beatrice and Eugenie just comes as a result of us always having talked about Beatrice and Eugenie as Beatrice and Eugenie. But I think the reality of it is a bit different, because Eugenie's been off on a work trip. She's been in Miami for Art Basel. Eugenie is there as director of the art gallery Hauser and Wirth, which is why she goes to Art Basel every year. And according to page 6, she's got a really high-powered job. She has work to do.
But she also gets to hang out with Keanu Reeves and Paris Hilton. Your dream dinner party guests.
I know. She also apparently had a puff of a cigarette while she was there. That was another thing that was reported.
But while she's off doing this, Beatrice is in the UK and getting a lot of heat. We saw last week that she had been planning a very flashy engagement party in the swanky Chiltern firehouse. The Mail on Sunday reported that it was meant to be happening on the 18th of December. And this week, the Mail is saying that actually she has cancelled the party, that she fears that there will be too many photographers outside looking for her father. As well as that, once the story got out, her friends were concerned that the Chiltern Firehouse was too high profile of a venue. So Beatrice and her fiancé Edo have taken their advice, and they've now changed their plans so that Andrew can sneak in under the radar.
Yeah, they need to find someone with a secret door. I mean, at what point as a father do you just say, look, I want you to have a really lovely engagement party that you look back on with total happiness. So I'm not going to go.
Especially because he doesn't even like partying.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. And at this time, that Eugenie's literally gone to America where he can't follow her.
Yeah.
But there's been more coming out about Andrew. Every week brings more information. We have a second woman who says that she was abused by Epstein, has claimed that she had sex with Andrew as well, and has spoken with lawyers representing Epstein's other victims. And this is according to the Mirror.
The Mirror does note very cautiously that there is no indication that the woman claims to have been coerced into having sex with Andrew, but if her case is presented to a judge, she will become the second woman to state on oath that she had sex with Andrew as a result of his friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. So her legal team are now carrying out a rigorous investigation, and that might bring more trouble for Andrew. But in the meantime, he's got to deal with two credible witnesses who said they saw him in Tramp that infamous night in 2001 where he was sweating all over Virginia Roberts. This is according to Lisa Bloom, who is a lawyer for 5 of Epstein's victims and who is now preparing to bring these two witnesses to America to speak to the FBI. She gave a really good quote to the Mail on Sunday. She said, "The FBI is looking into Prince Andrew. They want to speak to him. He said he wants to cooperate with law enforcement, and yet it doesn't seem to be happening. So I would like to help move this forward." She's just so helpful, isn't she?
Really helpful. And I think Andrew will really appreciate that help. But on to our quote of the week.
We talked a lot about Virginia Roberts' interview with Panorama on our bonus episode this week. But I have to say, again, she was incredibly articulate, very powerful speaker, you know, my woman of the year. And my quote of the week is when she said, in reference to all of Andrew's ridiculous excuses about the photo being edited and all that rubbish, "I'm calling BS on this because that's what it is. He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth. And I know that's me."
It's so good. Such a powerful statement. Yeah, totally agree. My quote of the week as well.
What about your Fit for a Queen?
Camilla absolutely blew everybody else out of the water this week with her floor-length black velvet gown with bright pink satin lining. So this was by Bruce Oldfield, and she wore it to the premiere of 1917, the new war film by Sam Mendes. It had a beaded fringe.
It was so dramatic. This was, I think they call it the Royal Film Performance, so I guess they do it every year. This was such a fantastic movie as well for them to go see because it is just chock full of hunks. Yeah. And they had a whole line of them waiting to meet Camilla. So she sweeps in her like fabulously festive velvet dress with that saucy pink lining poking out as she greets like two of our prime hunks, Richard Madden and Andrew Scott.
And they were absolutely cracking up. We could see... I couldn't really hear what she was saying, but she looked like she was cracking jokes, and they were loving it.
Very genuine laughter.
Yeah.
Not the kind of polite, haha, respectful laughter. Richard Madden was, like, creasing himself.
Yeah. Andrew looked pretty festive as well. He was wearing a burgundy velvet jacket, which I would also dress in, like, wine colours if I was meeting Camilla, obviously. While Richard Madden was the perfect bodyguard. Ultimate James Bond vibes from his black tuxedo. Just
what a dream moment. If you want to see this video, you can check it out on our Instagram. It's at airheadspod. Just a charming moment all around.
And I mean, while this really would tempt me to make Camilla first in line as well, just for like being photographed with these two people, I think we have someone else in mind.
Yeah, it's got to be Princess Anne.
Yeah. I never thought I'd live in a world where Princess Anne had a viral moment, let alone 2 in a week. Obviously, she's come out very well from the most recent season of The Crown with that great performance by Erin Doherty. You can hear more of our thoughts on that performance in our royal recap episodes.
You know, as we know, Anne is very hardworking. She always has the most number of engagements of anybody in the royal family. And on Wednesday, she signed the City of London Book of Condolences for the victims of last week's London Bridge terror attack. Then the following day, she paid a visit to Draper's Hall, where she met members of the Fishmongers Company staff, and that's a guild, so she met like members of the court, including those who were affected by the attack. And it was just like a a really nice moment, because we always see those, statements that the palace releases whenever there's a tragic event like this, but you like seeing members of the family actually meeting with people who were affected.
What have we got coming up next week, Maeve?
Well, we should apologise. We said that Kate's appearance at the NATO reception would be a tiara moment. We got mixed up. It's actually this week is the tiara moment. On Wednesday, when Kate and Will both be attending a diplomatic reception, the annual one, at the palace.
Is Kate not allowed to take her tiaras out of the box when Will's not there?
But I think you're going to be even more excited for Camilla returning to the seas.
Oh, this is, she's going on official commissioning ceremony for a new aircraft carrier, right?
With Charles.
Oh, well, yeah, he often tags along, doesn't he?
As the ship is named after him, the HMS Prince of Wales. So we'll have more on that and everything else that unfolds this week. We hope you come back and join us next week. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at AirheadsPod and on Facebook at Airheads.
And if you like the episode, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts and tell a friend.
Have a great week.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
This conversation is going round and round in circles. I preferred it when we were going round and round in circles.